All right, I don't want to really do this today, but I promised myself I'd just get it out of the way. The big struggle with this car has been basically that I want to film every aspect of it. So some nights I just don't feel like filming, but I'd love to work on the car, so it kind of conflicts, but whatever. I'm going to try and film every aspect of these three cars that I'm working on right now so that I can kind of show you guys more of what's going on. Anyways, what's going on, guys? My name is Mike. Welcome back to the channel. Behind me is a 1969 Volkswagen Beetle. Somebody has chopped this down. They've actually shortened it, and as you see, the body has been removed, and they've put some sort of sketchy roll cage around it. Obviously, it's not built very good. I'm going to show off the car to you guys in a second. But when we got this car, we purchased it just for the parts, the motor, everything else that's on the vehicle. We got this car for like $700 Canadian, and it was only a couple minutes down the road, so it was kind of a no-brainer. The motor was freed up. We didn't know if it ran, but essentially the people who had it just couldn't get it running. They couldn't quite figure out the wiring because there's nothing going on for this car. It's just an engine and a body. So when we got it home, I learned a couple tricks because my dad's been in the Volkswagen world for a while. And I'm going to show you guys basically how simple it is to make this car run. We have this motor running off of, I think, 3 wires in total. And it's pretty straightforward, super easy. So if you ever have any wiring problems on your Volkswagen, you can essentially just wire up the motor, make sure everything works, and then you can retrace your wiring and see where, your wiring has failed. So this is kind of a helpful trick to those who either want to set up the motor on the bench and get it running out of the car, or essentially you have a problem in your car and it's a wiring issue, so you can wire up your motor through this little trick, and then it will, tell you, okay, yes, you have a wiring issue within the car. So I just wanted to take some time and show you guys how simple it is, how easy it is. Before I tear this whole thing apart, I wanted to get it running, make sure it's running good, and see what this has wrong with it, because this motor here is supposed to go in my 69. So this car, all the parts from this car are it's a donor car for the 1969 that's sitting outside. So the deal I had with myself this week was that this car needs to get torn down, everything taken off that I want taken off, and then the 69 needs to come inside so that I can start separating the body from the floor pan to repair the floor pan, which you can kind of see over there. There's 2 sides to the floor pan that need to go into the 69. So once this is torn apart, hopefully today, I can then turn around and bring the 69 in the shop. I did bring the 69 up to the door with a U-Haul cube van type thing, quite the show. I was able to record it on my Ray-Ban stories, but of course, my head does this all day long, so the footage is pretty shaky. But I will put that on my channel as well, me pulling the 69 out of the backyard, because I had it in storage back there. So yeah, let's break down and show you guys how simple it is to get this motor running when there's 0 wiring attached to it. So all we have to do is run like 3 wires, and I will show you, break it all down, just to show you how simple it is, and prove to you that this runs good. The choke is actually powered up. Everything's good. So this car can idle. It's got a bunch of power. And it's actually pretty good working for how simple this car is and how horrible it looks. It actually works good. So I kept it like this because it was a lot of fun just to boot around the yard. But now that I need the motor, I need all the parts. The frame is worth nothing to me. So everything's got to come out and then, be put to the side so that I can, and sorry, that's my heater. I'm not really trying too hard with this filming thing. I'm just setting the camera up, talking to you guys, not going crazy with it. I am a videographer, so I tend to go crazy with a lot of stuff. This is just me talking to you with a microphone on top of the camera. I'm not wearing a mic, so I do have a heater going in the background. I apologize for those that it is annoying, because I'm sure it's annoying. So let's dive into this. Alright, well, first I can show you the front. This is a 1968 from what I can see. I've checked a bunch of the parts on it and numbers. Everything comes back to a 1968. So you can see the floor pan's still there. That is off a 1968 Beetle. The steering setup is there. Some parts have been replaced, so that's good. Steering on this feels nice and tight. It's pretty fun to drive. That's pretty much all we got going on up here. There's no brakes. It came with a pedal assembly. Everything up here, the steering box, all those goodies. Hey, Sheppy. Everything works in here, surprisingly. Shouldn't quite work in my opinion. It's all bent and yeah, just jimmy rigged together, but it actually works. The shifter works, the clutch works, everything works in there. So I'll run right through this car quick, but essentially this is it's an AH, so it's a 1600 Volkswagen Beetle motor. It's got a swing axle transmission, so we don't really want that, but it is worth something. Yeah, pretty simple setup. Fuel tank, motor, seat, floor pan, steering. Pretty basic as far as it goes. Now if we look here, this is your coil. I'll brighten this up a little bit. Now if we look here, this is your coil. Not quite sure what this is, to be honest with you, but it needs power. So we've got power running here. You see that? Power running here, power running to the coil. And they're split off, so that's the same wire split to the coil, to this guy, and then it runs to the choke over here on this side of the carb. Now that wire is going to run along here, down to, oh, it splits into a brown, and then the brown and yellow wires run up to a switch here. So I've got a switch to turn the coil on, which makes everything we were just talking about live. The choke, the coil, and that other thing. And then I've got another power switch ran to a push button, and that just runs down to the battery and to the starter. So we have our power to our choke and everything like that, and then we have our power to our starter tagged into the positive side. This positive cable then runs to the starter. This ground runs to the other side of the starter. So all we have is ignition for the starter, and we have power to the choke, the coil, and something else. Yeah, it's super simple, and honestly, it runs like a charm. It's pretty surprising. But it's a super simple setup. I never realized how simple it was just to wire these things and make it run. I'm going to prove to you guys right now that it does run, that it does work, because it's a bit of a skeleton of a car. And I guess you're pretty lucky if this thing works. It does have no brakes, so I'm not going to go drive it around. Been there, done that, and I've already got caught, so we won't play that game today. But I'll fire it up now and let you guys see that it does run, does work good. It's only got, like I said, one power wire running to the motor. That wire is split 3 times, runs to the choke, runs to the, not quite sure where that piece is, then it runs to the coil. That runs back to a switch, then the other side of the switch runs to the positive side, so that we can then activate that switch, brings power to the choke, power to the coil, all that stuff. Then the other power wire simply runs to the starter ignition. Then we've got our positive and negative. So we have the ignition to start, like to turn the starter, and then the rest of the car is connected. So it does run off of 2 wires. Pretty amazing, honestly. I never assumed to be that easy. So yeah, you have any issues, I would just do that. Run a power wire to a switch back to your choke and your coil, and then you need a power wire ran to a switch, like a push button, ran to your starter, ignition side, good to go. Okay, so I'm going to fire this thing up right now so you guys can see that it does run, does work good, and we'll get through this. Now, I guess I better open the door because it smokes a little bit. So the reason I wanted to make sure this car ran pretty good before I pulled the motor, essentially just so that I know what all I need to do to the motor It is smoking a little bit, so I'm going to assume it needs rings. We did a compression test on each cylinder, and it turns out number 4 is the strongest and number 1 is the weakest. So it will need rings, but it's not really a giant rush because, as you can see, it starts, runs okay, and it's got tons of power. So I'll fire it up now. Oil on, turn the choke on, and you can activate the start button. Just gotta give it some fuel because it is a choke, or it is a carbureted vehicle, so it doesn't prime itself. It will prime. We won't idle the vest right now, and as you can tell, the carburetor needs tons of adjustment, but it died. Well, you can see it runs, it goes into gear, everything works on it. So it's time to get it out. But you can also see that it's smoking. I don't know if you guys could see that, but it is smoking pretty good. So okay, so by all intensive purposes here, I am ready to remove the motor. I've got pretty much everything. As far as I know, there's some sort of belly pan they've welded on this thing, so the belly pan has to be cut off quick, and then the motor needs to come out. I've never taken a motor out before from a Volkswagen Beetle. This is kind of a great car for me to start on because I own a 74, a 69, and this is a 68. So with no body on this thing, it really shows all the detail and how simple this car really is. It's a great learning point because the next one that comes in here is the 69, and it has a body on it. So I am peeling the body off of it, but this gives me a great starting point to kind of learn a little bit about it while it's in here. But yeah, never removed a motor before from one of these, and I'm going to attempt it today. I don't necessarily have all of the right tools, which is fine, but I'm pretty confident that I can do it. So, I mean, confidence is key, right? That's what I look at. And then I'm going to slowly rip apart the rest of the car, hopefully so that tonight I can chop up this frame, throw it outside, bring the 69 in, and start on it because it's probably full of mice, so I'm going to have to boot fuck it outside before it comes in and vacuum and smash it around a bunch, and hopefully everything comes out of it before it comes into my garage. It's not the nicest garage, but this is my space, so mice can stay out. Anyways, so yeah, this is simple. I'm gonna end this video here, and I'll start a new video about the removing the motor. I'm gonna go make a hot chocolate or something, then get onto that. But this video was just to show you guys how simple this car is, how easy it is to make that motor run. Like I said, two positive wires, one that runs to your starter, the ignition side on your starter, and one that runs to your choke, your coil, and I'm having a brain fart on that. It runs to the bottom of your carburetor anyways. And then, you know, you've just got to have your positive and your negative master cables hooked up, and this car will fire, it will run, and wants to do its thing. So super easy, super simple to get this wired up. Most of you probably know that trick if you're watching this video, but if you don't know, now you know. So stay tuned. I'm going to be pulling this motor out. I've never really had any experience doing this, so stay tuned. I'm going to slam this out of the car so that I can tear the rest of it apart and get moving on my 69 because I've made a schedule and I'm already behind. So yeah, thanks for checking out the video.